Shadows of concern. Amapola stood by the doorway, her gaze tracing the delicate dance of shadows and sunlight on the garden path. The late afternoon sun was filtering softly through the trees, casting dappled patterns across the grass. Matthias, her husband, was kneeling beside their daughter Anita, helping her grip the wooden handle of a bright red kite. The sky was a gentle blue, a canvas perfect for the simple joy of flying a kite. Matthias's voice was steady as he instructed Anita, guiding her small hands. "Hold it like this," he said, his tone gentle but firm. Anita's face was alight with determination as she nodded, her laughter ringing out like the carefree tugs of the kite string. The kite lifted gracefully into the air, its vibrant tail fluttering against the pale sky. Amapola watched the scene unfold with a quiet, contented smile. The sight of her husband and daughter, so engaged in this simple pleasure, filled her with a deep, serene joy. It was a moment of pure, uncomplicated happiness. The world felt as it should be, perfect in its simplicity, with the three of them united in this peaceful moment. Yet, as the afternoon wore on, Amapola couldn't ignore the subtle changes she had noticed in Matthias. His movements were slower than usual, his shoulders seemed to slump ever so slightly. It wasn't enough to draw immediate concern, but Amapola, with her keen awareness of the nuances of their life together, felt a growing unease. Her eyes lingered on him, her brow furrowing in silent contemplation. When Anita, oblivious to the subtle tension between her parents, tugged at Matthias's sleeve and asked for another go with the kite, Matthias's chuckle was softer than usual. "Of course, M'amour," he said, bending down to retrieve the kite. His smile was warm, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. Amapola's heart ached with the unspoken worry that hovered just beneath the surface. That evening, after Anita had fallen asleep, Amapola found herself at the window, her gaze fixed on the garden now shrouded in darkness. The once vibrant scene was now a silent witness to her growing anxiety. Matthias sat at the kitchen table, his head bowed, fingers pressed against his temples as if trying to ease a persistent headache. "Long day?" Amapola asked softly, her voice barely more than a whisper. She didn't want to disturb the quiet of the house, but the weight of the silence between them was growing heavier. Matthias didn't answer immediately. After a moment he nodded, his voice low and dismissive. "Just tired, that's all." Amapola bit her lip, feeling the strain of unspoken words. The house, which had once been filled with the light and warmth of shared moments, now felt oppressive, as if the walls were closing in. The silence between them was thick, laden with concern and unspoken questions. The days that followed were marked by a troubling shift. Matthias's fatigue became more pronounced, his movements more deliberate and slow. The lively conversations that once characterized their dinners grew quieter, his responses shorter and less engaged. Amapola's worry intensified, though she chose to remain silent, holding on to the hope that this was merely a temporary phase. One afternoon, as they sat under the shade of a sprawling oak in their yard, Matthias leaned back in his chair, his breath coming in shallow bursts. Anita played nearby, her giggles echoing as she chased the kite tied to a stick. Amapola reached out, brushing her fingers gently against Matthias's arm. "You've been working too hard," she said softly, her tone more a suggestion than a question. Matthias opened his eyes slowly, as if waking from a dream. He offered a smile, but it was thin and fleeting, not reaching the depths of his eyes. "Maybe I just need some rest," he said. The words hung in the air, a fragile truce between their unspoken concerns. As the evening approached and Anita was called in for dinner, Amapola lingered outside for a moment longer. The garden, once a sanctuary of joy and laughter, now felt quieter, as if waiting for something inevitable. Her heart clenched with a pang of anxiety, but she pushed the thoughts away, focusing on the routines that had once brought comfort. But this time, something felt different. The serene facade of their life was cracking, revealing the shadows of uncertainty that had begun to creep in. Amapola's concern was not just for the visible signs of Matthias's weariness, but for the deeper hidden truths that might be contributing to his sudden change. Amapola's unease grew with each passing day. She began to notice small, unsettling details, how Matthias's temper seemed to fray more easily, how he became increasingly withdrawn. These changes were subtle but persistent, like a slow leak that could eventually burst into something catastrophic. One evening, as Amapola prepared dinner, she overheard a conversation between Matthias and Anita. The tone of their exchange was oddly strained, though the words themselves were benign. Amapola's heart sank as she caught glimpses of a side of Matthias she had never seen before, a side that was becoming increasingly difficult to ignore. The following morning, after another night of restless sleep, Amapola resolved to take action. She couldn't ignore the growing unease any longer. She needed to understand what was happening in their home, even if it meant confronting uncomfortable truths. Without Matthias' knowledge, she decided to install a discreet camera in the living room, a decision driven by a deep-seated need to uncover the reality behind Matthias's troubling behavior. The choice was not made lightly, but Amapola felt a pressing need to protect her family and restore the harmony that had once been their anchor. As the camera was set up, Amapola's heart raced with anticipation and dread. What would the footage reveal? The answer lay hidden in the shadows of their seemingly perfect life, waiting to be uncovered. And so, with a heavy heart and a mind full of questions, Amapola took the first step toward unraveling the mystery that had begun to overshadow their once joyous home. The camera, now quietly observing the life that unfolded within these walls, was poised to reveal the truth that had eluded her for so long. The hidden lens, Amapola's decision to install the camera, was both a relief and a source of profound anxiety. The device, small and unobtrusive, was discreetly positioned in a corner of the living room, its lens aimed to capture the daily rhythm of their lives. The hope was that by observing the space where they spent most of their time, she might catch glimpses of the troubling changes in Machia's behavior or uncover something that had been hidden from view. The first few days of monitoring the footage felt surreal. Amapola found herself staring at the screen for hours, watching the mundane details of their lives unfold. Machia's lounging on the couch, Anita playing with her toys, the ebb and flow of their daily routine. The normalcy of these scenes seemed almost comforting, like a false sense of security that masked deeper issues. Yet, as the days passed, Amapola's unease grew. The footage began to reveal subtle but disconcerting patterns. Machia's fatigue was evident, but it wasn't just physical. There was a growing tension in his interactions with Anita, a sharpness in his voice that wasn't there before. He seemed increasingly irritable, his patience wearing thin with the smallest of interruptions. One particular evening, as Amapola watched the footage, her heart sank. Machias had come home late from work, his face drawn and tired. He barely acknowledged Anita's excited greeting, instead retreating to the kitchen where he slumped into a chair, his head in his hands. Anita, sensing the change, hesitated for a moment before approaching him with the drawing she had made. A simple gesture of a child seeking validation seemed to go unnoticed. The scene unfolded in a way that pierced Amapola's heart. Machia's response was abrupt, almost harsh, as he dismissed Anita's attempt to share her day. "Not now, Anita," he snapped, his voice devoid of the warmth it once carried. Anita's shoulders slumped and she retreated to a corner, her small frame trembling slightly. The moment was fleeting, but it left a lasting impact on Amapola. Amapola's heart raced as she replayed the footage, her mind trying to process the disturbing reality she had just witnessed. The joyful moments they had once shared were now marred by an undercurrent of tension and frustration. The loving father she had known seemed to be replaced by a stranger burdened by unseen pressures. That night, as Amapola lay in bed beside Machias, the weight of the day's discoveries pressed heavily on her. She could feel the subtle shifts in his breathing, the restless turning as he slept. Sleep eluded her as she wrestled with the images from the camera, the echoes of Anita's quiet disappointment reverberating in her mind. The next morning, Amapola decided to confront Machias gently, hoping to address the issue without causing further strain. During breakfast, she broached the subject with a careful tone. "You seem a bit on edge lately," she began, her voice steady but laced with concern. "Is everything okay at work?" Machias glanced up from his coffee, his eyes clouded with a mix of weariness and frustration. "It's just been a rough few weeks," he replied tersely. "You know how it is." Amapola pressed on, her concern growing. "I've noticed that you seem more tired than usual, and you've been different with Anita." Machias's face hardened and he set his coffee cup down with a clatter. "I'm doing the best I can," he snapped. "Things are just complicated right now." The conversation was short-lived, ending in a tense silence that left Amapola feeling more unsettled than before. The cracks in their relationship were becoming more apparent, and the footage from the camera only intensified her fears. She knew that there was more to the story than what was being said, and the unease within her grew with each passing day. As the weeks went on, the footage continued to reveal glimpses of a troubling dynamic. Machias's interactions with Anita became increasingly strained. He often seemed preoccupied, his patience worn thin. The once vibrant family life was now characterized by awkward silences and unspoken frustrations. One day, as Amapola reviewed the footage, she noticed a disturbing pattern. Anita had developed bruises, dark mottled patches that appeared on her arms and legs. The discovery was alarming, and Amapola's heart raced as she tried to piece together the fragments of her daily life. The bruises were subtle at first, but their frequency and intensity grew over time. Amapola's mind raced with questions. How had these bruises appeared? Was it possible that Machias, in his state of exhaustion and frustration, had inadvertently caused them? The thought was unbearable, and Amapola's anxiety reached new heights. She needed answers, but she also needed to protect her daughter from further harm. Desperate for clarity, Amapola decided to confront Machias with the evidence she had gathered. She needed to understand what was happening, to address the issue head-on. That evening, as they sat in the living room, Amapola took a deep breath and broached the subject with a heavy heart. "Matthias," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "I need to talk to you about something important." Matthias looked up from his book, his expression guarded. "What is it?" Amapola took another breath, steadying herself. "I've noticed something concerning on the footage. Anita has been getting bruises, and they seem to be happening more often. I need to know what's going on." Matthias's face went pale and he looked away, his gaze shifting to the floor. "I don't know what you're talking about," he said, his voice barely above a whisper. Amapola's heart sank as she realized the depth of the issue. The truth was more complex and painful than she had anticipated. The tension between them was palpable, and the path forward seemed fraught with challenges. The camera, once a tool of observation, had become a mirror reflecting the hidden cracks in their lives. The footage revealed more than just the daily routines. It uncovered the underlying tensions and unspoken fears that had taken root within their family. Amapola knew that understanding and addressing these issues would be a long and difficult journey, but she was determined to protect her daughter and restore the harmony that had once defined their lives. The echoes of truth. The morning after Amapola's confrontation with Matthias was tense and fraught with an uneasy silence. The revelation of Anita's bruises had cast a heavy shadow over their home, and Amapola's resolve to address the issue was unwavering. The footage from the camera had opened a door to a troubling reality that could no longer be ignored. Amapola spent the morning in a haze of worry and determination. She couldn't shake the images from the footage from her mind. The bruises on Anita's delicate skin, the subtle signs of distress that had emerged over time. The more she thought about it, the more she realized that the issue went beyond mere physical symptoms. It was about the emotional and psychological impact on her daughter and the broader implications for their family. Determined to find out more, Amapola reached out to a trusted friend, Laura, who had experience in child psychology. Laura had been a supportive presence in Amapola's life for years, and Amapola hoped that her insight would help her navigate this difficult situation. They met at a cozy cafe where the bustle of the city provided a stark contrast to the gravity of their conversation. Over coffee and pastries, Amapola explained the situation, showing Laura the footage and describing the changes she had observed in Matthias. Laura listened intently, her brow furrowing as she absorbed the details. "It sounds like there's a lot going on," Laura said thoughtfully. "It's important to approach this carefully. The bruises and changes in behavior could be indicative of something more complex." Amapola nodded, her heart heavy. "I don't know what to do. I need to understand what's really happening and ensure Anita's safety." Laura's eyes softened with empathy. "You're doing the right thing by seeking help. It's crucial to approach this with sensitivity and care. It might be helpful to talk to a professional, someone who can assess the situation more comprehensively. And remember, it's important to address this with Matthias directly, but in a way that doesn't escalate the situation." The conversation with Laura provided Amapola with a clearer sense of direction. She realized that confronting Matthias further was necessary, but it needed to be done with a focus on understanding and resolving the underlying issues rather than exacerbating the conflict. Returning home, Amapola felt a renewed sense of purpose. She knew that she needed to tread carefully but also decisively. The next step involved seeking professional help and continuing to monitor the situation closely. The balance between addressing the immediate concerns and maintaining a sense of normalcy for Anita was delicate, but Amapola was determined to manage it. That evening, Amapola sat down with Matthias once more, her approach more measured and calm than before. "Matthias," she began, her voice steady but gentle. "I've been thinking about our conversation from the other night. I want us to get help for Anita and ourselves. It's important for us to understand what's happening and how we can address it together." Matthias looked at her, his expression a mix of wariness and defensiveness. "I don't see how talking to someone is going to help," he said, his voice tinged with frustration. "Things are just difficult right now. I'm doing the best I can." Amapola took a deep breath, choosing her words carefully. "It's not about blaming anyone. It's about understanding what's going on and finding a way to support each other. We need to make sure Anita is safe and that we're all coping with the stress in a healthy way." Matthias's gaze dropped to the floor and he remained silent. The conversation was fraught with tension, but Amapola remained steadfast. She knew that addressing the issue head-on, even if it meant uncomfortable conversations, was crucial for the well-being of their family. Over the next few days, Amapola took steps to seek professional help. She contacted a child psychologist who specialized in trauma and abuse, scheduling an appointment for Anita. The process of arranging the appointment and preparing for it was emotionally draining, but Amapola felt a sense of relief in taking proactive measures. In the meantime, she continued to monitor the footage, noting any changes or patterns that might provide further insight. The camera had become a tool not just for observation, but for understanding the intricate dynamics within their home. Amapola was determined to use it responsibly, ensuring that any evidence gathered was used to protect and support her daughter. The day of Anita's appointment arrived, and Amapola felt a mix of hope and anxiety. The psychologist's office was warm and welcoming, designed to put children at ease. Anita, who was still unaware of the true purpose of the visit, was initially hesitant but gradually warmed to the gentle demeanor of the psychologist. The session lasted for an hour, during which the psychologist engaged Anita in various activities and conversations designed to assess her emotional and psychological state. Amapola waited anxiously in the waiting room, her heart heavy with the weight of uncertainty. When the session concluded, the psychologist met with Amapola privately. "Anita is a bright and resilient child," the psychologist said. "There are signs of distress, but nothing that indicates immediate harm. It's important to address the underlying issues and create a supportive environment for her. Regular counseling sessions might be beneficial, both for her and for your family as a whole." Amapola's heart was lifted slightly by the psychologist's assessment, though she knew there was still much work to be done. The path ahead would involve ongoing support for Anita and addressing the underlying issues within their family dynamic. Returning home, Amapola felt a renewed sense of determination. The steps she had taken were just the beginning, but they marked a crucial turning point in addressing the concerns that had plagued her family. The camera, once a source of distress, had become a tool for understanding and intervention. Amapola knew that the journey ahead would be challenging, but she was committed to navigating it with courage and care. As the days turned into weeks, the family began to adjust to the new routine of counseling and support. The interactions between Macias and Anita started to show signs of improvement, though the road to recovery was still long. Amapola remained vigilant, balancing her role as a mother, wife, and advocate for her family. The echoes of truth had reverberated through their lives, revealing the complexities of their situation. But with each step forward, Amapola found hope in the possibility of healing and renewal. The path ahead was uncertain, but she was determined to face it with strength and resilience, for the sake of her family and the love that bound them together. The unspoken struggles, the weeks following Anita's initial counseling session, brought a fragile sense of equilibrium to the household. Amapola's efforts to establish a supportive environment for her daughter were met with cautious optimism. The psychologist's recommendations were being followed, and Anita seemed to be finding some comfort in the new routine. The sessions, although emotionally taxing, provided a space for Anita to express herself and begin the healing process. Yet beneath the surface of their daily lives, the unspoken struggles continued to simmer. Macias' demeanor remained a source of concern. Despite Amapola's best efforts to address the issues directly and seek professional help, Macias' reluctance to engage in meaningful conversations or acknowledge the depth of the problems was a persistent obstacle. One afternoon, as Amapola was preparing lunch, she noticed Macias pacing in the living room, his expression one of deep concentration. He seemed lost in thought, his movements restless and agitated. Amapola approached him, her concern evident in her voice. "Macias, is everything okay?" she asked gently. "You seem preoccupied." Macias glanced at her, his eyes distant. "Just thinking," he muttered, not meeting her gaze. "There's a lot on my mind." Amapola could see that there was more to Macias' agitation than he was willing to share. The once supportive and engaged partner was now distant and withdrawn. The strain of the situation was taking its toll, and Amapola felt the weight of their unspoken tensions more acutely than ever. Determined to address the growing distance between them, Amapola decided to try a different approach. She reached out to a family therapist, hoping that joint sessions could facilitate open communication and provide a structured environment for addressing their issues. The idea was met with mixed feelings from Macias, who reluctantly agreed but remained skeptical about the process. The first joint therapy session was a significant step forward, though it was not without its challenges. The therapist, Dr. Elena Rossi, was an experienced professional known for her empathetic approach and her ability to navigate complex family dynamics. As the session began, she encouraged each family member to share their thoughts and feelings, setting the stage for a productive dialogue. Dr. Ross's office was a calm and inviting space designed to foster a sense of safety and openness. Amapola and Macias sat across from each other, while Anita was engaged in a drawing activity with a child therapist in a nearby room. The initial session was a mix of tension and tentative communication, as each member of the family struggled to articulate their concerns. Dr. Rossi began by addressing the recent changes in the family dynamic. "Macias, Amapola has shared with me her concerns about the changes in your behavior and its impact on Anita," she said, her tone gentle but firm. "It's important for us to understand what's happening and work towards finding solutions that will benefit everyone." Macias shifted uncomfortably in his seat, his fingers tapping rhythmically on his knee. "I'm just tired," he said, his voice low. "Work has been stressful, and I haven't been handling it well." Amapola took a deep breath, her voice steady as she responded. "It's not just about being tired. I've noticed that your interactions with Anita have changed. You seem more irritable, and it's affecting her." Dr. Rossi nodded, acknowledging Amapola's concerns. It's clear that there are underlying issues that need to be addressed. It's important to explore the sources of your stress and how they're impacting your relationships. The conversation continued with Dr. Rossi guiding the discussion towards understanding the root causes of Matthias' behavior. The session revealed glimpses of the pressures Matthias was facing, work-related stress, financial worries, and a sense of inadequacy that had been building over time. Yet the full extent of his struggles remained partially obscured, and it was evident that he was struggling to articulate his feelings. As the weeks progressed, the family therapy sessions became a regular part of their routine. The process was emotionally demanding, but it provided a structured framework for addressing their issues. Dr. Rossi's sessions revealed more about Matthias' internal struggles and the impact they were having on his relationships. Amapola also continued her own efforts to create a nurturing environment for Anita. The counseling sessions for her daughter were helping, and Anita's drawings and play therapy sessions began to reflect a gradual improvement in her emotional state. The small victories were encouraging, though the path to full recovery remained uncertain. One evening, after a particularly intense therapy session, Amapola and Matthias sat together in their living room, the air thick with unspoken words. The session had been emotionally draining, and both were feeling the weight of their unresolved issues. Amapola turned to Matthias, her voice gentle. "I know this process is difficult, but it's important for us to keep moving forward. We need to address our issues openly and honestly." Matthias sighed, his gaze fixed on the floor. "I know. It's just hard to talk about everything. I feel like I'm failing in so many ways." Amapola reached out, placing a hand on his arm. "We're in this together. We need to support each other and work through these challenges. It's not about perfection. It's about being honest and working towards a better place." The conversation was a small but significant step towards healing. Matthias' admission of feeling like a failure was a breakthrough, and Amapola's supportive response marked a shift in their communication. It was clear that their journey towards healing was far from over, but moments like these provided a glimmer of hope. As the family continued their therapy sessions, the dynamics began to shift gradually. Matthias started to engage more openly in the sessions, and Amapola's unwavering support provided a foundation for rebuilding trust and understanding. The process was slow and arduous, but the commitment to addressing their issues was a positive step forward. One afternoon, as Amapola reviewed the footage from the camera, she noticed a change in Matthias' behavior. His interactions with Anita were becoming more positive, and there were moments of genuine connection that had been missing for some time. The improvement was subtle but significant, reflecting the progress made in their therapy sessions. Despite the challenges, the family was making strides towards healing. The road ahead was still uncertain, but Amapola's dedication to her daughter and her commitment to working through their issues with Matthias were fostering an environment of growth and understanding. As they navigated this complex journey, Amapola remained hopeful. The echoes of truth that had emerged from the camera and the therapy sessions were guiding them towards a path of healing. The challenges they faced were profound. The strength of their love and the determination to overcome their struggles provided a source of hope for a brighter future. The fractured reflections. As the family therapy sessions continued, the dynamics within the household began to shift subtly. The process of healing was not linear, and there were moments of regression alongside progress. Each member of the family was grappling with their own set of emotions and challenges, and the journey was marked by a complex interplay of hope, frustration, and tentative optimism. One afternoon, after a particularly intense therapy session, Amapola felt a mix of exhaustion and resolve. The conversations had been raw and revealing, unearthing deep-seated issues that were not easily resolved. The sessions were helping to address the underlying tensions, but they also highlighted the fragility of their situation. Amapola's focus remained on creating a safe and nurturing environment for Anita. The counseling sessions were showing some positive effects, with Anita becoming more expressive through her drawings and play therapy. Yet the process of healing was slow, and Amapola knew that maintaining a sense of normalcy was crucial for her daughter's well-being. Matthias' behavior continued to be a source of concern. Despite the therapy sessions, he struggled to fully engage and open up about his feelings. The stress of work and the pressure to be the perfect provider weighed heavily on him, and he often retreated into silence when confronted with the emotional demands of their situation. One evening, as the family gathered for dinner, the atmosphere was tense but subdued. The meal was a quiet affair, with the usual banter and laughter replaced by an uneasy silence. Amapola noticed the strain in Matthias' posture and the way he avoided eye contact with Anita, who was trying to engage him with a new drawing she had made. "Papa, look at this," Anita said, her voice full of hopeful excitement as she held up her drawing of a colorful landscape. Matthias glanced briefly at the drawing, his expression non-committal. "That's nice, Anita," he said, his voice lacking its usual warmth. He quickly turned his attention back to his plate, leaving Anita's smile falter. Amapola felt a pang of sadness at the interaction. She understood that Matthias's struggles were complex, but she also saw the impact they were having on their daughter. The disconnect between them was evident, and Amapola knew that addressing it was crucial for their family's healing. After dinner, Amapola decided to have a candid conversation with Matthias about their family dynamics. They retreated to the living room, where the soft glow of the lamp provided a soothing backdrop for their discussion. "Matthias, we need to talk," Amapola began, her voice steady but filled with concern. "I've noticed that things are still strained between us and with Anita. It feels like we're not making the progress we need to." Matthias sighed, his shoulders slumping as he sank into the couch. "I know," he admitted. "I just don't know how to fix everything. It feels like no matter what I do, I'm not getting it right." Amapola sat beside him, reaching out to take his hand. "It's not about getting everything perfect. It's about being present and working through our issues together. We need to find ways to reconnect as a family and support each other." Matthias looked at her, his eyes filled with a mix of frustration and vulnerability. "I'm trying, Amapola. It's just that the stress is overwhelming. I feel like I'm constantly failing." Amapola's heart ached for him, but she also knew that they needed to address these feelings constructively. "I understand that things are tough, but we can't let the stress and frustration drive a wedge between us. We need to find ways to communicate and support each other, not just for our sake, but for Anita's as well." The conversation was a step towards bridging the emotional gap between them. It was clear that there was a long way to go, but the willingness to communicate and confront their issues was a positive sign. Matthias's admission of feeling overwhelmed was a breakthrough, and Amapola hoped it would pave the way for deeper understanding and connection. As the weeks continued, the family therapy sessions remained a crucial part of their journey. Dr. Rossi's guidance helped them navigate the complex emotions and dynamics at play. Matthias began to engage more actively in the sessions, though his progress was uneven. The sessions provided a space for him to express his frustrations and fears, and Amapola continued to offer support and encouragement. The impact of the therapy sessions was also becoming more evident in Anita's behavior. She seemed more at ease, and her interactions with her parents were showing signs of improvement. The positive changes were a source of hope for Amapola, though she remained vigilant in ensuring that their progress was sustained. One evening, as Amapola watched Anita playing in the garden, she felt a glimmer of hope. The garden, once a place of joy, now tinged with uncertainty, had become a symbol of their journey towards healing. Anita's laughter rang out, a reminder of the resilience and strength within their family. Amapola's reflection on their journey was both sobering and inspiring. The path to healing had been fraught with challenges, but the commitment to addressing their issues and supporting each other had led to meaningful progress. The fractures within their family were being mended slowly, and the process of healing was creating a new sense of unity and understanding. As the days turned into weeks, Amapola found herself reflecting on the lessons learned throughout this journey. The unspoken struggles and the raw emotions that had emerged were a testament to the complexities of their situation. Yet the willingness to confront these issues and seek help had paved the way for growth and healing. In moments of quiet reflection, Amapola felt a renewed sense of hope. The journey ahead was still uncertain, but the progress made and the strength of their family's bond provided a foundation for moving forward. The path to healing was ongoing, and each step forward was a testament to the resilience and love that defined their family. The dawn of reconciliation. The rhythm of daily life had settled into a new pattern, shaped by the ongoing therapy sessions and the gradual changes within the family. As the months passed, the challenges and breakthroughs that defined their journey became markers of their growth. The road to healing was still a work in progress, but the resilience and commitment of each family member provided a hopeful outlook for the future. One crisp autumn morning, Amapola woke to the sound of leaves rustling outside her window. The early light filtered through the trees, casting a golden glow across the garden. She felt a sense of quiet anticipation as she prepared for the day ahead. It was a day of significance, one that would mark a turning point in their journey. Anita had made remarkable strides in her therapy sessions, and the positive changes were evident in her demeanor. Her drawings had evolved from dark, fragmented images to vibrant, expressive scenes that reflected her growing sense of security and hope. Matthias, too, had shown signs of progress, engaging more openly in therapy and working to improve his interactions with his family. Despite the positive changes, Amapola knew that the journey was far from complete. The challenges of their situation had left deep scars, and there was still work to be done in rebuilding trust and connection. However, the progress made thus far was a testament to their collective strength and determination. On this particular day, Amapola had planned a special family outing, an opportunity to reconnect and create new positive memories together. She hoped that the outing would provide a chance for them to celebrate their progress and reinforce their commitment to each other. The family set out for a visit to a nearby nature reserve, a place known for its scenic trails and serene landscapes. The crisp autumn air and the vibrant foliage created a picturesque backdrop for their outing. As they arrived at the reserve, the sense of adventure and possibility was palpable. Anita's excitement was infectious as she bounded along the trail, her laughter echoing through the trees. Macias and Amapola walked together, their steps in sync as they navigated the winding paths. The shared experience of exploring the natural beauty around them provided a sense of unity and renewal. As they reached a scenic overlook, Amapola suggested taking a break and enjoying a picnic they had packed. They spread out a blanket on the grassy knoll, and Amapola unpacked the basket, revealing an assortment of treats. The simple pleasure of sharing a meal outdoors added to the sense of togetherness. During the picnic, Amapola took a moment to reflect on the journey they had been through. The conversation flowed easily, and the atmosphere was lighthearted and relaxed. There was a rare moment of peace amidst the challenges they had faced. Matthias looked around, taking in the beauty of the surroundings. "This is nice," he said, his voice carrying a note of contentment. "It feels good to be out here, just the three of us." Amapola smiled, her heart warmed by the moment. "It's important for us to create these kinds of memories," she said. "We've been through a lot, but it's moments like these that remind us of the strength of our family." Anita, who had been busy arranging leaves and rocks into a makeshift art project, looked up with a grin. "I want to make a big drawing when we get home," she declared. "I want to show all the colors of the leaves and the sky." Amapola and Matthias exchanged a glance, their expressions reflecting a shared sense of pride and hope. The outing had been a success, providing a much-needed break from the intensity of their therapy sessions and a chance to reconnect as a family. As the day came to a close and they made their way back home, Amapola felt a renewed sense of hope and determination. The journey towards healing was ongoing, but the positive changes in their family dynamics were a testament to their resilience and commitment. In the weeks that followed, the family continued to build on the progress they had made. The therapy sessions remained a cornerstone of their efforts, and the insights gained from them helped to strengthen their relationships. Matthias's interactions with Anita became more engaged, and Amapola found solace in the growing sense of understanding between them. One evening, as the family gathered in the living room for a movie night, Amapola felt a deep sense of contentment. They had chosen a lighthearted film to watch together, and the atmosphere was filled with laughter and camaraderie. The simple pleasure of spending time together as a family was a reminder of the progress they had made. As the movie played and the room was filled with the sound of laughter and occasional commentary, Amapola took a moment to reflect on their journey. The road had been challenging, marked by moments of uncertainty and struggle, but the strength of their family bond had guided them through. She glanced at Matthias, who was sitting beside her, his arm draped around her shoulder. His presence was a comforting reminder of their shared commitment to each other. Anita, nestled between them, was absorbed in the film, her face lit up with joy. In that moment, Amapola felt a sense of peace and hope. The fractured reflections of their past had given way to a renewed sense of unity and understanding. The journey towards healing was ongoing, but the progress made and the strength of their family's bond provided a foundation for a hopeful future. As the credits rolled and the movie came to an end, Amapola looked around at her family with gratitude. The path ahead would undoubtedly have its challenges, but she felt confident in their ability to navigate them together. The lessons learned, the progress made, and the love that bound them together were the cornerstones of their continued journey towards reconciliation and healing. The dawn of reconciliation had brought with it a sense of renewal and hope. The journey had been arduous, but the commitment to facing their challenges together had created a foundation for a brighter future. Amapola knew that the road ahead would require continued effort and understanding, but the strength of their family's resolve provided a source of optimism and inspiration.